just keep calculating it. It'll just run on this way. He tried to find a way I got to fix it. I got to fix it some kind of way. It's like it's no different than when you learn about time. Yeah, we knew there are hours and watches, but those hours weren't necessarily designated at just 60 minutes apiece. That's something Esau did. He fixed each one. Those things were moving based upon the times in the season. Sometimes it'd be long, sometimes an hour will be longer, sometimes an hour will be shorter, based upon how the sun is moving in different times and seasons of the year. Because remember, the sun doesn't just fall same place and rise in the same place every day, all day, all year. It moves, it transitions. There's a tilt to it throughout the season, throughout the year. So once again, that's how you have those seasonal changes. Because not going through the same place exactly every time. So you're going to have shorter days, you're going to have longer days, you're going to have shorter nights, you're going to have longer nights. And certain times it's going to be equal. That's why we didn't have it, okay, it's fixed at this point in time. No, it's based upon the sundials. It's going to go where it goes for this particular season. These are all things Esau did to make things more convenient for him. So now, let's continue.
The Julian calendar decreed that the new year would occur with January 1st.
So now, take note of the Julian calendar decreed that. Read.
And within the Roman world, January 1st became the consistently observed start of the new year.
So now it says in the Roman world, in their world, it became the consistently observed start of the new year. That wasn't for everybody, but now when you're in a position of power, now you can decree what it is that you want. You set the standard. And guess what? Everyone else has to get in line. That's how they made these things more effective, because it's like, well, I don't want to keep that. Well, I'm over you now. This is what we're making it. This is what it is. Caesar has spoken. That's how those things came to pass. Now let's continue. Read on.
Middle Ages, January 1st abolished. In medieval Europe, however, the celebration accompanying the new year were considered pagan and unchristian.
So you had times to where they tried to, all right, well, we know this is pagan. We can't be celebrating all these other gods. We got to oust it out. There are moments like that throughout history, so on and so forth. Read on.
Unchristian-like. And in 567, the Council of the Tours abolished January 1st as the beginning of the year. At various times and in various places throughout medieval Christian Europe, the new year was celebrated on December 25th.
Now, a big part of that, and you'll find, because even look at dates, without even knowing, a lot of these things were being changed and abolished when we got into power. Remember, we were ruling a lot in Europe. So a lot of these things, and shoot, even later in places of Rome. So it became places when we could, those who were right, hey, they tried to, we're not celebrating this. We're going to keep things this way. But yet and still, whenever Esau had, nah, we switching it back. These are problems. We're going to change it back. Read on.
The birth of Jesus, March 1st.
Now see that? Once again, we covered that not too long ago. I went over it. December 25th is not the birth of Christ. Who's that the birth of? Nimrod. There we go. Read on.
March 25th, the feast of the Annunciation.
What's the feast of the Annunciation? We covered that last month too. I mean, excuse me, not even last month, a few weeks ago. Actually, last week. Annunciation, when the angel Gabriel appeared unto Mary. That's when we deal with the Annunciation. All right, and Easter. All right, read on.
Gregorian calendar, January 1st, restored. In 1582, the Gregorian calendar reform restored January 1st as New Year's Day. Although most Catholic countries...
Now, I wonder why. You see those dates too? You see how it's so funny how it's after the millennial reign period? After that time, back when Esau started coming back to more power and Renaissance, and I'm make it the way I need to make it, those things aren't coincidental. He said, look, we're going to restore it back to where it was, once again, so Satan can continue to rule. Keep you in the dark and continue to keep you in confusion. Read on.
Although most Catholic countries adopted the Gregorian calendar, almost immediately it was only gradually adopted among Protestant countries. The British, for example, did not adopt a reformed calendar until 1752. Until then, the British Empire and their American colonies still celebrated the new year in March.
Because still, even look about when he makes these changes, it's not something that happens immediately in days, weeks, months. It takes years to try to get, when you look at nations, to submit and keep these things. It takes time. So now, let's get Daniel 7:25. And that's the source, of course, as well. Look at the book of Daniel. But this is nothing different that the Most High didn't already mention.
Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
Which he does all the time. Speaks against the laws, the customs. All these things are speaking great words against the Most High. That, nope, the year don't belong nowhere in the spring, belong in the dead of winter. Those are great words against the Most High. He's the one that said it that way. Read on.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
So see that he's always thinking to change times and laws. Anything we try to set out, which really isn't even of us or the Most High, he said, nah, I got to go against the Most High. He's been like that from its inception with Esau. Nah, I don't cook that meat. I want the red meat. I want it raw. That's Esau. Moving on. So customs and traditions. Rick?
Make some noise. Many New Year customs that we take for granted actually date from ancient times.
Tell me something I don't know. Read on.
In ancient Thailand, guns were fired to frighten off demons.
So now, them shooting the guns and everything during New Year's, that these come from their evil superstitions, scaring off demons, things of that nature, and wicked forces. Read on.
In China, firecrackers routed the forces of darkness.
Scare them away. Scare the spirits away. Read.
Today, Italians let their church bells peal. The Swiss beat drums, and the North Americans sound sirens and party horns to bid the old year farewell.
Read on.
Many New Year's traditions surround food. Here are a few. In the southern U.S., black-eyed peas and pork foretell good fortune.
So now, where you going to find that at? Get Revelation 1 and 3. Go have some pork, tell you something good. You're going to get blessed.
That's crazy right
there. Revelation 1 and 3. Yeah, so you going to let some ham foretell your future act?
Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
See, the Most High says, blessed are those who keep the things that are written. There ain't no damn pork and some black-eyed peas going to bless you. That ain't going to work. But read on.
Revelations 1 and 3. See our recipe. Good luck hopping John.
We ain't seen that recipe. Read on.
Eat any ring-shaped treat, such as donut, symbolizes coming full circle and leads to good fortune. In Dutch homes, fritters called oliebollen are served. The Irish enjoy pastries called bannocks. The tradition of eating 12 grapes at midnight comes from Spain. In India and Pakistan, rice promises prosperity. Apple dipped in honey are a Rosh Hashanah tradition.
You know what? Get Joshua 1 and 8. Some rice going to tell you some prosperity. The Most High say tell us prosperity. Get Joshua chapter 1 and verse 8.
Joshua chapter 1, verse 8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth,
Read.
but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein.
So once we start doing according to what the word says, what then happens? Read.
For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success.
So the success rate comes in how well you apply this word. The less you apply it, the lower your success rate go down. The more you apply it, the more your success rate go up, and the more prosperous you'll be. Continue back with the slide.
In Swiss homes, dollops of whipped cream symbolizes the richness of the year to come. Are dropped on the floors and allowed to remain there.
And that's just nasty. You just gonna dollop whipped cream on the floor and just let it stay there. But that's the heathen. That's part of their customs.
That's like that one restaurant, man, where they allow you to peel the peanuts and just throw the shells all over the floor. Y'all know what I'm talking about? It's a seafood restaurant. I no longer eat there no more, but the first time I've been in there, I'm like, man, why the hell are all these shells on the floor? But that's nasty. Because people eat, some people put the peanuts in their mouth and spit them out whole. Like,
it's a lot of who got to clean it up, though. Yeah. So now, gotcha. Drink a beverage. Let's continue.
Drink a beverage. Although the pop of champagne cork signals the arrival of the new year around the world, some countries have their own traditions.
So even though some may drink champagne and cork to signal in the new world, but nevertheless, let's read some countries and their traditions. Read on.
Wassail, the Gaelic term for good health, is served in some parts of England. Spiced hot pot is the Scottish version of wassail. It's customary to drink a glass or two at home before sharing with neighbors. In Holland, toasts are made with hot spiced wine.
Mm-hmm. Read on.
Give a gift. New Year's Day was once the time to swap presents. Gifts of gilded nuts, coins mark the start of the new year in Rome. Eggs, the symbol of fertility, were exchanged by the Persians.
Remember that, because we're going to come back to that in February. Continue.
Early Egyptians traded earthenware, flask. In Scotland, coal, shortbread, and silverware are exchanged for good luck. Put your best foot forward.
Now, that's the next one they say. Put your best foot forward. Start the new year off right. New Year's resolutions. Read on.
In Scotland, the custom of first footing is an important part of the celebration of Hogmanay, or New Year's Eve Day. This practice holds that the first foot to cross the threshold of midnight will predict the next year's fortune. Although the tradition varies, those deemed especially fortunate as first footers are new brides, new mothers, those who are tall and dark and handsome, or anyone born on January 1st.
Mm-hmm. So now, get Sirach 5 and 7. Because like everything they have it is, bless the women, bless those that are tall and dark. Get Sirach 5 and 7.
Sirach chapter 5, verse 7. Make no tarrying to turn to the Lord.
So the scriptures say, look, don't tarry to turn to the Most High. Read.
And put not off from day to day.
And put not off from day to day. Why?
For suddenly shall the wrath of the Lord come forth, and in the security thou shalt be destroyed.
That's what it says. So ain't no waiting for a New Year's resolution now. Your resolution start today. You got to resolve in yourself. I got to change today. Because lest I put off for another day and then something happened. And I didn't take the opportunity to change, but yet and still I waited and felt good because I was secure. Ain't nothing going to happen. I'll be all right. It can wait. That's what we feel every. It can wait. Certain times, you need to take care of it now. Act now. The time is now. Tomorrow isn't promised. That's why we say, I'll see you tomorrow, Most High willing. Might get in the car on my way home, get taken out. Might get shot when I walk outside the door. You never know. But yet and still, that's why the scriptures say what they say. Now, if you don't, now you're in error. You're not holistically keeping the scripts. That goes with everything. You holistic. But yet and still, if you are applying it, then cool. You're doing your part. You're doing your job. Let's move on. Back to the slide.
Turn over a new leaf. The dawn of the The dawn of the new year's is an opportune time to take stock of your life. Jews who observe Rosh Hashanah make time for personal introspection and prayer, as well as visiting graves. Christian churches hold watch night services, a custom that began in 1770 at Old St. George's Methodist Church in Philadelphia. The practice of making New Year's resolutions said to have begun with the Babylonians as early as 2600 BC. Is another way to reflect on the past and plan ahead.
So once again, you see different nation, different heathen, and how they particularly do it and practice it. But once again, these things aren't of us and aren't of the Most High. Continue.
New Year's folklore. Some customs and beliefs are simply passed down through the ages. Here are some of our favorite age-old sayings and proverbs. On New Year's Eve, kiss the person you hope to keep kissing. If New Year's Eve night wind blows south,
it
betokeneth, warmeth, and groweth. The abundance in the new year fill your pockets and cupboards today.
Get Jeremiah 10:3. So now these are some of the sayings that the heathen have in different folklore, but none of it's scriptural. All of these things are their own superstitions, their own belief system in regards to, well, these things just might work. We believe it will. You should too. What did the Most High say concerning custom of the heathen? Get Jeremiah chapter 10 and read verse 3.
Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 3. For the customs of the people are vain.
See that? The customs of the people, the things that they keep a tradition, that's vain. That's all I need from that. So, like I said, so whether we resolve to return borrowed farm equipment, as did the Babylonians, or drop a few pounds, we're tapping into an ancient and powerful longing for a fresh start. Once again, it is something ancient and tapping into more than that. But nevertheless, sources also there at the bottom. So now, let's get more widely observed New Year symbols and traditions. So, of course, like they dealt with resolutions, it is believed that the Babylonians were the first to make New Year's resolutions, and people all over the world have been breaking them ever since. The early Christian believed that the first day of the new year should be spent reflecting on past mistakes and resolving to improve oneself in the new year. If one wants to do that, then the best time to do that is Day of Atonement. Most High gave us that to reflect on our mistakes, get right. But when it comes down to observing the new year, how he keeps it, then that's a pass. It says with fireworks. Noise making of fireworks on New Year's Eve is believed to have originated in ancient times, when noise and fire was thought to dispel evil spirits and bring good luck. The Chinese are credited with inventing fireworks and used them to spectacular effect in their New Year's celebrations. Now let's get idolatry. So the truth behind New Year's. Many will bring in so-called New Year's, which is kept in the dead of winter. Let's look deeper into this holiday and bring out some of the history as well as pagan roots and customs associated with the day. As you may or may not have known, many gods are worshipped on this day, but in reality, it's just a couple of so-called gods that over time have evolved into other gods. Just like we dealt with last week when it came down to Nimrod and Tammuz, things of that nature. Of course, people would deny it. They're not the same God, but yeah, they're the same God, same deities you worshiping. And then that's it. We'll get into it right now. So we're going to get into, when you research where the name January comes from, you'll find Januarius, also known as January, named after Janus or Ionis, the Roman god of doors and gates, and beginnings and endings. This god is also symbolically known as a god of change and transitions, depicted with a face looking to the future and a face looking to the past. So this is the face that you'll see, Janus, so-called god of beginnings. Let's get more from Encyclopedia Britannica. Go ahead, Art.
Janus in Roman religion.
So in Roman religion, nothing to do with us, read.
The animistic spirit of doorways, Janua, a archways, Janus. Some scholars regard Janus as the god of all beginnings and believe that this association with doorways is derivative. He was invoked as the first of any gods and regular liturgies, the beginning of the day, month and year, both calendarical and agricultural were sacred to him.
So now, Janus, said to believe the God of all beginnings, once again said with the beginning of the day, the month, the year, and everything calendrical and agricultural were all sacred to him. Rick?
The month of January is named for him, and his festival took place on January 9th. The Agonium, there were several important temples erected to Janus, and it is assumed that there was also an early cult on Janiculum, which the ancients took to mean the city of Janus.
So now, they go all out for their God. They make sure they erect temples and statues and everything else because of how much that they put into their particular belief system that, these guys is real. Read on.
The worship of Janus traditionally dated back to Romulus and period of even before the actual founding of the city of Rome.
Now, who was Romulus? Anyone? Who's Romulus? Nobody? Soldiers? Disciples? No, you know. Remus and Romulus, the founders of Rome. Brothers said to be so wicked, they must have been nurtured by the she-wolf, which we'll get into next month. But nevertheless, that's what we're dealing with. Read on.
There were many Janni, i.e. ceremonial gateways. In Rome, these were usually freestanding structures that were used for symbolically
auspicious
entrance or exits. Particularly, superstitions was attached to the departure of a Roman army, for which there were lucky and unlucky ways to march through a Janus.
March through a doorway. And that's what leads to even more superstitions, adds on to it. All these superstition followers step on the crap, breaking mom's back, and walk under a ladder, bad luck for however long they say. Whatever it is, superstitions is. But read on.
The most famous Janus in Rome was the Janus Gemini, which was actually a shrine in Janus. At the north side of the Forum, it was a simple rectangular bronze structure with double doors at each end. Traditionally, the doors of this shrine were left open in time of war and were kept closed when Rome was at peace. According to the Roman historian Livy, the gates were closed only twice in all the long period between Numa Pompilius, 7th century BC, and Augustus, 1st century BC.
Even the Romans attributed a lot of their war victories to this particular god, saying, hey, he helped open the doorway for victory and things of that nature. Read on.
Janus was represented by a double-faced head, and he was represented in art either with or without a beard. Occasionally, he was depicted as four-faced as the spirit of the four-way arch.
That's from Britannica.com. So now, these are the pictures that you'll see. These are two depictions of Janus, said to be the god of beginnings and endings, things of that nature, and usually having one face looking into the past, another face looking in the future. One face supposed to be depicted as an older gentleman, the other one's supposed to be depicted as a younger gentleman. But let's get Revelation 1 and 8. Because once again, he's depicted by the heathen trying to play a role that the Most High already plays. Your Revelation chapter 1 and verse 8.
Revelation chapter 1, verse 8. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, saith the Lord, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty.
So, of course, the Most High, he says, look, I already have that title. I'm the beginning, the ending, the middle, check mark in between, whatever you want to make it, I'm all of those things. So that belongs unto me, not unto any god, not Ionis and Janus, things of that nature. Let's get another figure.
Another figure is Father Time, who you may also know as Grim Reaper, usually carrying a scythe, also depicted as having an hourglass or clock, symbolic for passing of life and time, also known as the Greek god Chronos, where you get the term chronograph, which is the measurement of time. and was first said to be cannibalistic and reap children. Kronos became father of time, and father time became who you know as the Grim Reaper, all of which are one in the same. But some disagree and say they are all different, and that the Grim Reaper is really Father Time's son, but not the same entity. But everything has a time, but the Most High is not affected by time and space.
Which we'll get into, momentarily, that, of course, Father Time, Kronos, Grim Reaper, they're all one and the same, but the arguments may differ. Some say Father Time, Grim Reaper are the same entity. Others say that no, Father Time is the father, Grim Reaper is the son of Father Time. So either way it goes, still one and the same, which can even then be taken back to Nimrod-type, Tammuz-type argument. But let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 3. We can read verse 1. We don't have to read the whole thing. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, and you can read verse 1.
Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven.
So everything that we see is subject to time, according to what the Most High put on it. So Most High, the one who exists outside of that time, which we'll deal with once again for, all the Soto disciples, that once again, when you're dealing with, that time, you're dealing with, once again, they try to put, people ask you, how old is God? Once again, that's an irrelevant question, that you're looking in the sense of something that is physical when he's not physical, he's spiritual. He doesn't even exist within this particular realm or dimension. So it's one of those things to where he has his own realm, his own dimension, which he exists in, to where it's one of those things to where he is outside the actual realm of time. He is not affected by time, space, or matter. You can't close the door and think you're going to stop God. It doesn't work that way. But now, we'll get more into those things later on. So now let's get Father Time. So the personification of time as an old man, usually in a white robe, having a white beard and carrying a scythe. That's from dictionary.com. So usually if some of you grew up watching Rudolph's Shiny New Year, so you'll notice Father Time in here. Usually, happy-go-lucky, like with Rudolph, carrying a scythe, as you see in the picture on the right-hand side. Now, you see Kronos. Kronos was the king of the Titans and the god of time, in particular time when viewing as a destructive, all-devouring force. He wrote the cosmos during the Golden Age after castrating and deposing his father, Uranus, or Uranus, sky god, in fear of a prophecy that he would in turn be overthrown by his own son. Kronos swallowed each of his children as they were born. Rhea managed to save the youngest, Zeus, by hiding him away on the island of Crete, and fed Kronos a stone wrapped in swaddling clothes. The god grew up, forced Kronos to disgorge his swallowed offspring, and led the Olympians in a 10-year war against the Titans. Titans driving them in defeat into the pit of Tartarus. So once again, that's some bad family issues, ain't it? Family, fighting your parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles. That's Esau. So now, this is Kronos, both depicted on the right and the left. This is how he looks. Even on the left has a little child underneath him. So one on the right has him carrying a reed, which the baby's being handed to him. So that's the object being passed with his hand up. And of course, you'll always see him depicted with a baby or with a child, all very often. See even ones like this with Father Time. Ones like this, darker and more grim, but this is cannibalistic nature. So he's known to be cannibalistic and eat children. But once again, you'd never know that based upon the depiction you see here. He just looked, come on, Rudolph, I would never. He said, nah, that's a crazy old man. So he said, you look good. I'm going to take you. I'm going to eat you. And that's what he really is, cannibalistic. Said to eat and reap children like we were dealing with earlier, and that's known. It's really dark and sinister and not as happy-go-lucky. Whether you believe this is him or this is his son, hey, both are applicable. Because once again, it's one of those things where the dark side is what is he supposed to stand for? The passing of time, beginnings and endings, life and death, time. That's what you're dealing with. And once again, just taking it a more dark, sinister, like what does he stand for? Passing of time as well. Had the same hourglass in his hand. Why? He carried the hourglass, That's what's in his hand. That's what's also by his feet. Same thing, the same God, same deity, same man. Or whether you believe he's his son, then it's his son. But nevertheless, Deuteronomy 33 and 27. Let's read that. Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 27. It's always the Grim Reaper said to be immortal, and he's going to come get you and take your life.
Deuteronomy 33, verse 27. The eternal power is the refuge, and underneath are everlasting arms, and he shall thrust out the enemy from before thee, and shall destroy them.
So now, when it comes down to when you're dealing with eternity, dealing with time, that's subject unto the Most High. That's who you're dealing with. You're not dealing with anyone else. When you come to anyone who's Father Time and Grim Reaper, that's going to be the Most High and his angels. Those are the ones who, your time's up. I'm coming for you. And the one who actually, anyone who's thrusting in his sickle, that's the Most High, and that's Christ. Christ's the one who has those keys. He's the one that actually truly carries that sickle. So now, once again, same deity. Or if someone wants to argue father and son, then all right, you argue father and son. Now we're going to get to that next one, though, that bottom one. So now Romans also brought in the new year by getting drunk and having orgies. Hence the Greek god Dionysus, known as the god of drinks and wine. This is also why one of the custom to get drunk on this day. Dionysus is usually depicted as a baby in a diaper or baby New Year's, who in reality is a grown man. One of the customs was to parade a baby around in a basket, symbolic for fertility of crops. So now, but once again, is it lawful to drink? And if so, how should one watch their intake? Isaiah 5 and 11, like it deals with woe to them rise up early in the morning that they may follow strong drink. That's one of the problems. And you're drinking all day, like I said, that continue until night to wine and flame them. Lets you know, don't drink all day. Those functioning alcoholics, not in the Most High's world. But now, baby New Year ain't who you thought or who you think he is. That's why he got that face on the left. You already know he's going to get called out. This is baby New Year. This is Dionysus. This is the god of drinks, always drunk. In reality, they try to make him look like a cute baby. He's a grown man. He was in Hercules. It was him in Hercules. That's baby New Year. Overgrown fat man. That's baby New Year. So Dionysus, also spelled Dionysus, also called Bacchus, or in Rome, Liber Pater. In Greco-Roman religion, once again, always they religion, a nature god of fruitfulness and vegetation, especially known as a god of wine and ecstasy. The occurrence of his name on a linear bead tablet, 13th century BCE, shows that he was already worshipped in the Mycenaean period. The Mycenaeans and the Minoans were your original Greeks. They were the original Greeks and Romans when you're going back. So now it says, although it is not known where his cult originated, in all the legends of his cult, he is depicted as having foreign origins. Dionysus was the son of Zeus and Semele, a daughter of Cadmus, king of Thebes. That's from Britannica.com. So now, let's get Ecclesiastes chapter 31, 27 to 28, which of course, nothing wrong with drinking. It is once again understanding there's a balance to it. Like it says, Ecclesiastes chapter 31, 27 to 28. Want to read that?
Wine is as good as life to a man, if it be drunk moderately.
So it said, look, wine is as good as life to a man if it be drunk moderately. Read.
What life is then to a man that is without wine?
See that? This is what life is then to a man without wine? You got to turn up. But read.
For it was made to make men glad.
See that? It was created to make man glad. Nothing wrong with drinking. Read.
Wine measurably drunk.
See that measurably drunk, read.
And in season.
In season meaning in its proper time. Not every time is a time to drink. Read.
Bring gladness of the heart.
But it does and can bring gladness of the heart. Read.
And cheerfulness of the mind.
It's a relief. Makes you feel good. Tobit 4:15.
Do that to no man which thou hatest. Drink not wine to make thee drunken.
That's the key thing. Don't drink to make yourself drunk and intoxicated. Read.
Neither let drunkenness go with thee in thy journey.
Don't do that because then you end up getting in car accidents, hurting people, things of that nature. So that's why, hey, don't drink and drive. Let's get midnight. Where'd that come from? So people stay up all night to bring in the so-called New Year at midnight. Midnight is also the time set for a day to end and begin in modern day society. But what did the Most High say and ordain? Leviticus 23:32. So now it says, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbaths. So even unto even. Nothing about a midnight there. So this is reading and eating, and sundown to sundown is a day. So when the sun sets, a day ends, and a new day begins. And this was not for the Sabbath day only, but for every day. This is going back Genesis 1 and 5. The Most High said, and God called the light day. In the darkness he called night. In the evening and the morning were the first day. It begins in the evening. This is evening and morning because that makes up a complete day. There's two parts of the day. One part, evening, darkness. The other part, daytime, light. Comes back around to the evening, then you're starting the next day. Two parts. So now the Most High never ordained midnight as the ending of one day and the beginning of the next, but he separated light from dark, evening from morning. The day determined by the rising and setting of the sun. But what is another factor concerning midnight? We know night and midnight has long been associated with magic, chaos, death, and hell. Sorcery has always been thought best to be performed at midnight. So when does the year end and a new year begin? Let's now examine when the year actually starts. For this, we're going to look at a couple of feast days and holy convocations mentioned in the Bible that we are to keep even in this day. The key fact is that we know we have seasons, but what you may not have known is that it is important to keep the feast days in their seasons. I'm sure many of you have heard of the holy days, and of course Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, and let's examine when this feast occurs to better understand in what month the year begins. Genesis 8:22. So Genesis chapter 8 and verse 22 deals with, go ahead and read it.
While the earth remaineth,
So it said, while the earth remaineth, what would also remain?
seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
There's always times, seasons, things of that nature. Read on.
Leviticus 23, verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
Proclaim and keep in their season, their proper time during the year. So we have spring, summer, autumn, winter, things of that nature, and all these things were made from the creation period. Not what Esau just want to call it, that, nope, this all goes to the Most High and his glory. It's order. Get Exodus 12 and 2, because according to Esau, there is no order. This is all random. So Exodus 12 and 2, and we're also going to read 18. Go ahead
This
and read
month is to be for you the first month. The first month of the first month of your year. Verse 18. In the first month ye are to eat bread made without yeast, from the evening of the 14th day until the evening of the 21st day.
Right. Dealing with that month of Abib, Leviticus 23 and 5.
In the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover.
In that month, we keep Passover, which is shortly coming up, a few months.
Deuteronomy 16, verse 1. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord your power. For in the month of Abib, the Lord your power brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
So it's almost our new year, but not coming up in a few days, but coming up in a few months. That's when our new year be starting. Rick?
The first month is Abib, also known as Aviv and Nisan. And this month, starting with the 14th day of this month at sundown, which will make it the 15th day of the month, ye keep the Passover and the feast of unleavened bread. The feast is kept in the spring season. This is the start of the new year, as spring is the season when nature is flourishing and budding forth.
Mm-hmm. So now, you're always going to see in the spring, they always have that, the birds and the bees, and maybe you feel good. So now in the spring, their seasons change. It gets around 50 and 8. You can notice that. In the winter, you can't actually see any difference. Nothing's changed. But from winter to spring, you notice a transition, which is also mentioned in Scripture, in Sirach 50 and 8. And as we've read earlier, read.
Sirach 50, verse 8. And as the flower of roses in the spring of the year, as lilies by the rivers of water, and as the branches of the frankincense tree in the time of summer.
So there's always order. You always know when these seasons are coming. There's signs in nature. Your Songs of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 11 through 13.
Songs of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 11. For lo, the winter is past.
The winter is past, read.
The rain is over.
Because in the winter it's also raining. You get more rain in the winter. Read on.
The flowers appear in the earth.
But after that time, flowers start to appear. Because now you're bringing in spring. Read on.
The time of the singing birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land.
Because now these animals are now coming back out, because many of them, even turtles, hibernate when it's cold. So now it's a situation where they're coming out, and now they're frolicking. Now they're mating. Read on.
The fig tree putteth forth her green figs, and the vines with the tender grapes give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away.
Flowers coming forth. So now, one of the things we're going to get is once again dealing with Abib. This is from the Zondervan Combet Bible Dictionary. So this is the first month of the Canaanite calendar, equal to Nisan. March, April, head of grain, already ripe, but still soft. Abib, green ear. So that's when you have, once again, life coming forth. That's what you get in the spring. You don't get that in the winter. You're not going to see these changes. So now, Aviv, you also have as a boy's name of Hebrew origin. And the meaning of Aviv is springtime. Aviv was the original name of Nisan, the first month of the Hebrew calendar, which corresponds with March and April. It can also mean young grain. So that's, of course, thinkbabynames.com. Even they tell you that when you're dealing with the Bib and the Viv, you're dealing with springtime. So if somebody's keeping Passover in winter, that's a problem. You're not keeping it in the Bib. You're not even keeping it in the spring. Because a Bib means spring. You're keeping it in the springtime. So now, that is it. So in case I missed anything, go ahead and watch this video.
That over the last 4,000 years, New Year's wasn't always celebrated on the 1st of January. The original New Year's celebration, the massive Babylonian religious festival of Akitu, was held every year around the spring equinox. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar introduced a new calendar that was synced to the sun instead of the moon, officially moving New Year's celebrations from March 1st to January 1st. In the Middle Ages, the Christian Church did away with many of the ancient Roman festivals because of their pagan roots. As a result, New Year's was celebrated on various dates throughout medieval Europe. Finally, in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII overhauled the calendar system again. The Gregorian calendar, which we still use today, restored January 1st as New Year's Day. Even today, some countries and cultures follow a lunar, not solar calendar, and hold their New Year's celebrations at different times of the year. Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, and the first day of Muharram, the start of the Islamic calendar year, are both celebrated in the fall. And the Chinese New Year, which lasts for a whole month, begins in late January or early February. Traditions also vary from country to country. In Spain, people eat 12 grapes in the seconds leading up to midnight. Other cultures also eat special foods for New Year's. Greeks eat ring-shaped cakes with silver or gold coins baked inside. In China, a dumpling represents hope for an auspicious new year. And in Japan, long buckwheat noodles symbolize long life. Since 1904, crowds have packed New York's Times Square for one of the most famous New Year's traditions of all, the dropping of the ball. At midnight, hundreds of thousands of people enjoy the mesmerizing kaleidoscopic effect with nearly 16 million vivid colors and billions of patterns. From champagne and fireworks to resolutions and fresh starts, New Year's has always been many things to many people, and it has a long and colorful history that we bet you didn't know.
All right. So, check on learning. What god is named after January? Janus. Thank you. Thank you. Janus or Janus. What is the name of the god who drinks and wine? You say, oh, we forgot that one.
Yeah, baby New Year, what's his name?
It's a girl. What are you talking? Yeah, we know Yashima and Moya having a girl, but you know. Man, it's a girl. Somebody know it. We just went over it. He said they was asleep. He said we was watching, but we was asleep. What is it? Dionysus. Come on, y'all. That is baby New Year, but what is the actual name of the guy that drinks and wine? So Dionysus. That's where they get baby New Year. So what season does the New Year begin? Booze. Spring. All right. That's it. Everything got it? Get it? Got it? Good. All right. Any announcements? Once going twice, that's it. That's the lesson. Hope y'all learned and got something from it. All right. Short, simple, to the point. Just like the last one. Say Israel get out early. I don't know what to do. They said, damn, it's over? That's it? You ain't got another hour? Y'all want me to go another hour? Let me find something. Nah, y'all good. That's it. So announcements. Going once, going twice. Anybody? Announcements. Kabash ain't here. Is